Time now for today's focus, and in this edition we head to Lebanon, where the number of people locked up for jihadist activities rises every month. They're filling up the cells of the notorious Roumieh prison near Beirut. The overcrowded jail has some 8,000 inmates and hosts the largest concentration of jihadis per square metre in the world. Managing its population is a daily challenge, as Marine Pradel and Fernand Vantetz report.
Roumieh, the most renowned prison in Lebanon, is a name well known to jihadists, and with reason. More than 500 radicals accused of terrorism are incarcerated here. Supporters of the Islamic State, Fatah al-Islam, Jabhat al-Nusra, the Abdullah Azam brigades, they're all locked up together in one of the prison's cell blocks. The liberation of Roumieh prison has become a recurring theme in the propaganda videos of the Islamic State. Last January, 2 bomb attacks targeted the Alawite Jabal Muhsin neighborhood in Tripoli. On the suicide bombers' mobiles were phone records of calls from the prison. The attack was coordinated from within Block B, the wing where Islamist prisoners and those accused of terrorism lived, almost without interference from their guards. After a 9-hour raid, Lebanese security forces investigating the building found equipment beyond their dreams. An operations center with computers, 4G phones and satellites, as well as a self-managed cafe and even a barber. In front of the B block, now under renovation, the prison director doesn't try to hide the facts.
Inside the building, the authority of the security forces was at an ultimate low. When we arrived, we realized they also had weapons, knives, swords, and handmade weapons as well.
The detainees have been transferred to another wing of the prison, Block D, where they're locked in group cells, but with no contact to the outside world. Several inmates have begun a hunger strike to protest against the conditions of their detention. It's in the poor Sunni neighborhood of Beirut that we find a former inmate of Block B and D. Freed a few weeks ago, he told us he has gone to fight in Syria twice and regularly is in combat with the Lebanese army. On condition of anonymity, he denounces the violence, but especially the daily humiliation faced in Block D.
They installed doors that can't be opened, and at the bottom of the door is a hatch. Before we received our meals, they opened the hatch, which is 50, 60 centimeters above the ground, and we had to bark like dogs before being served.
A few hundred meters away, the Al-Taqwa Mosque. The pro-jihad and anti-Assad rhetoric which it's preached here led to it being targeted by a bomb attack in the summer of 2013. Its imam has made himself the spokesperson of Roumieh inmates. He warned the authorities against the consequences of the iron fist policy.
Yes, there have been violations, and the situation was similar to Abu Ghraib. If things remain as they are right now, I fear that many young men will head to join the Islamic State, Jabhat al-Nusra and the like.
And indeed, Islamists are mobilizing networks. Families have demonstrated outside the prison. And a few days before this report was shot, a mutiny broke out. 20 guards were held hostage for several hours. The prison authorities refused us access to visit Block D. There are, however, the cell doors, dismantled and partially burnt, stacked in the middle of the courtyard.
In this prison, you can never be sure of anything. Disorder like this has been happening regularly for a while. It happens a lot. But now they are confined to their cells, as required by law. Everything is organized according to the law. Of course, they don't like it, especially when they compare it to their situation before.
That's the goal of the Lebanese authorities, to break with the culture of corruption which turned a blind eye to prison conditions which allowed jihadist inmates to flourish. It also wants to counter the influence of the Islamic State, which has placed the prison at the center of its expansion strategy in the country.
They were looking to have representation, and they knew that those who were formerly captured inside the Roumieh prison could be a potential representative for them and could contribute actually to the expansion of the Islamic State inside of Lebanon. That is why across the negotiations related to the Lebanese soldiers held in captivity in the hands of the Islamic State since the Erbil battle, they were always trying to negotiate the liberation of some of these figures that are very valuable to the Islamic State, because as soon as these people will be liberated from the prison, they will join the rank of the Islamic State, they will mobilize their network.
The heavy-handed approach favored by the Lebanese authorities is a bid to prevent this. The release of the prisoners in Roumieh is not negotiable, security sources here say, even if it means sacrificing the lives of 25 soldiers and policemen who are still being held hostage by the jihadists.